Hi Virgo, welcome to your mid-June 2017 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here, and I did start your reading last night and I got interrupted, so I wanted to just do it all over again. I left the cards out overnight, and I'll just start where I left off. Well, actually it'll be at the beginning. And before I begin, I just wanted to let you know that this is a general focus, so there can be anything going on in these cards. I'm not going to focus on one specific topic. And I also ask, especially with these mid-month readings, that you do not get hung up by the idea of time, because even this particular reading, it can be quite extensive, and it may not be talking about what is happening to you right at this moment. Maybe these are future events, and maybe it's not even what's going to literally happen to you, but kind of themes to watch out for, to look out for. So just a little heads up on that. The overall theme of this last half of June is the Ten of Pentacles, and this is a card that specifically talks about family money. Well, I shouldn't say specifically, because it can also just be about having a lot of affluence yourself. But if this is about another person, this could be some kind of inheritance issue, okay? And I'm trying to think now. So your 8th house would be Aries, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case, then the 8th house for you is a house that deals with other people's money, like inheritances. And you have Uranus in Aries. And so just in general, Uranus is going to be in this sector for a couple more years. So it could be a situation where all of a sudden you get this inheritance. It could be a large one, who knows? And it's just, you never expected it. You know, Uranus kind of surprises people. And so maybe for some of you, that's something that just came out of nowhere. A long-lost second cousin twice removed that gave you a small fortune. So, but it could also be dealing with a family business, thoughts about a family business. Perhaps for some people, you're feeling obligated to deal with somebody else's business that's related to you. And of course, there are always complications with that, or a lot of times there can be if you don't want to be doing it, but you feel obligated. The Ten of Pentacles, though, can just be general affluence. And in the past, we have a card that echoes that. This is the Four of Pentacles. By the way, Pentacles connect with earth signs, so these could be earth signs that, and of course, you are an earth sign, so that's right up your alley. But it could be another earth sign that you're dealing with. And this is the card of wise money management. The number 4 relates to stability, and somebody who is very good at dealing with finances, and it could even be in their profession, accounting, banking. And so all the cards on the top are great professional cards, money cards. So especially if you are in financial industry, I guess even stockbroker could qualify that way as well. Because what we have for the present tense too is a card of recognition within your career, the Six of Wands. And this could be you being seen by others as successful. And so this is really a card associated with fire energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, but that fire energy is connected to creativity and ambition. So it could be that something along those lines has been happening for you. All of this is like gangbuster career stuff, and then you get, what do you get as a higher message? The Five of Cups. So it could be that your professional life is awesome and your private life is a little bit sad. Maybe you have broken up with someone. Maybe there has been a relationship that did not go the way that you wanted it to, and you're feeling dejected that it has occurred. Regret could be connected to this card. The cups connect to emotions as well as the water signs, which are the emotional signs of Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. So that could be could figure into this. Now, as the spiritual message, it's there to look at this from a macro point of view, the big picture. And you see the 2 cups that are remaining. And so it's like somebody is sad about something or someone, but they are turning their backs on the 2 things, the 2 cups, which relate to your, still things that are good that remain. So perhaps you have had some kind of emotional disappointment, but you still have other good things. Maybe if you had a relationship that soured, you might have somebody who's interested in you, or maybe more than one. There's 2 cups there, and yet you've turned your back on that because you didn't get what you want in this moment. And if you can do this, I know it's easier said than done, but if you've had any kind of emotional disappointment, and maybe it's not even romantic, maybe it's with a friendship, ask yourself this question: can you envision that this happened for a reason? That it isn't just a random disappointment, that maybe you're better off. And if you can wrap your brain around that, you can actually feel a sense of gratitude. But it takes the ability to transcend your pain. And that's where the challenge is. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying that it's necessary, because otherwise you will find yourself in a position where you're just living in regret if you did something that you feel you shouldn't have done, or in grief, because this is a card of grief too. And it could be, it's right below that 10 of Pentacles. So it's possible that it was an inheritance issue, and you have all this money and everything is going great, but you miss that person. And so the higher message would be, in that case, to grieve. Don't pretend that everything's okay. As an earth sign, you may be all about being rational, like that's the way to be. And I agree with you. I have a lot of earth in my chart too, but sometimes, stuffing I never think it's good to stuff your feelings, but sometimes it's good to just have a cathartic cry, or a feeling of, of talking to somebody that you trust, and really, exploring your emotions, because you may try to get away from them by being very busy, working a lot, and things like that. What crosses you is the Page of Pentacles. If there was a relationship with somebody who was of the earth element, this may have stalled for some reason, or I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a bad thing. The pages can be messages also. So this could be, we recently had a Mercury retrograde, and I think it actually fell into your love sector, because I think it started in Taurus. So, no, Taurus would be your 9th house. Scratch that. That would have to be a Capricorn deal. Well, here's the thing. See what happens at the time of the full moon in Capricorn in July. I think it's July 9th. Because that may give you clarity. If you've recently started dating someone, sometimes pages can indicate some sort of relationship that has just begun. And this could even be in the workplace too. And this can be something that at the time of the full moon, maybe you have some resolution about, or illumination. But also, forget about any kind of transit. This could simply be a message that never got through. You know, this is a kind of a blocked energy. So with pages being messages, if you experienced any disappointment, you thought you were going to get a job and you didn't, it could be that somehow things were delayed. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, though. This is very important. So don't fret. If there was something important that you're trying to get through, you might want to check it out and see if the party even received it. Because regardless of what house was activating your, where the Mercury retrograde was activating, it doesn't really matter. In general, that can screw up communication. So it can either be just delayed or something happened to put it in the wrong place. But in terms of a relationship, if you're trying to start a relationship with a fellow earth sign, that may have also, there may be timing issues. Perhaps they have another partner. It could be something like that. And it's always possible that you found out, you were hoping that you could continue with this person, and maybe you knew they were married, but they wouldn't, they promised that they were going to leave that marriage, and they haven't done so yet. So it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Sometimes people are afraid. They're afraid to make changes in their life. And it doesn't have anything to do with how good you are, how desirable you are. It just is kind of other things that are happening around you. So but I feel like with career matters, you have a lot of success cards and a lot of like affluent energy. So I don't think that anything that was delayed is going to ultimately harm you. Now, for some people, they're saying those cards on the top don't reflect me. Remember what I said about timing. Just think of it as this could happen in the future for you. What comes in or advice is the Three of Cups. If you are experiencing grief, be sure to don't isolate yourself. Become more social. Maybe you were in a relationship with someone and you neglected your friends while you were in that relationship, and now you need to contact them, and don't ever do that again. Don't ever neglect your friendships for a partner. Even if it's a new relationship, always, have that respect for your friendships as well. Don't get so hung up on a partner that you just start forgetting everybody else in your life. The other thing it can be, if you've been experiencing grief, same thing, don't isolate yourself. If you are looking for a job, for whatever reason, and I would think that many of you are not, but all of these cards on the top may not really correspond to you at this moment. So if you're looking for a job, network. And that can mean, with the Three of Cups, it could be in your circle of friends that you may find a position. Sometimes people don't even think about that. They're so focused on getting an interview, looking at looking at the wand ads, but they don't really have many of those anymore. And you may find that you have a thing come through for you, through a group association, friendships, things like that. The outcome is the Nine of Swords. This is not really an outcome. I think this is more of a cautionary tale, because this is a card of anxiety. So I'm not going to say, oh, and then you're going to, and then the reading wraps up and you're anxious and you can't sleep at night. That's silly. This may be saying you need to look at your anxiety and how it's impacting you. As a Virgo, Virgos, and I have Moon in Virgo, so I certainly have observed this, that there's a tendency to be high-strung. There's a tendency, even like physically, if you look at a person who's a Virgo, many times they're quite thin, and they are even like underweight, and they live on their nerves. Mercury rules Virgo as well as Gemini, and both of those signs seem to be thin more often times than not. And so that's from thinking too much. The swords relate to thoughts. They relate to air signs though too. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So there may be a person in your life who is one of those signs, or that's a signature of their chart, and they are giving you grief in some way, and it's up to you to use your God-given intellect to figure out what to do about this situation. You may be very anxious about this person, but it's not enough to be anxious. You have to be willing to take action. And I picked the second card, and it was the Star card. So the Star card actually connects to one of the air signs, which is Aquarius. But in addition to that, the Star card is about having gone through a challenge and now feeling hopeful about your life once again. This is a card of healing. So if you have experienced the loss of a person dear to you, whether it's a relative or a friend or a partner, this could be them, that they see you, that they're helping you from the other side, and maybe you sense their presence. Maybe you feel like certain things have happened that you can't believe just happened on their own. The other thing that this card may be saying is that if you have been in some kind of a state of grief, you will heal, or you're beginning to heal. And you feel this. You feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel. Again, you have these great money and career cards on the top level. So how this connects to a state of bereavement, I don't know. It's entirely possible, though. It's possible to have a loss and yet have good things happening at the same time. So perhaps not all of these cards resonate with you, but hopefully at least a few did, Virgo. And if you'd like a private reading, you can go to rainandmoonastrology.com or click on the link below. In many of my readings, I'm using your natal chart along with the tarot, and that helps me immensely because the tarot is very symbolic, and even in private readings, for me at least, it tends to be about hitting on ideas, but not necessarily specifics. And I always feel more specific when I utilize the natal chart, but it all depends on the type of reading. So anyway, I wish you all the best at the end of June, and take care of yourselves. Bye.